So there are three types of ADHD, and I like to kind of get to the basics first before I get into all the different aspects of ADHD because the three types aren't very well known. So there's three types that a child can be diagnosed with. The predominantly inattentive presentation. So usually in a diagnosis, it'll say ADHD, primarily inattentive. So these are the children that they seem very calm and regulated. Like they're the kids that can sit at their desk for hours. There's no problem there, but their minds are elsewhere. Like you're teaching them and you're talking to them, and they're not really present. They're somewhere else, kind of mentally. Then there's the predominantly hyperactive impulsive presentation, which is most commonly the one that's caught, right? Because it's so obvious. The child that's running around, getting out of their seat, bumping into people, can't sit still. It looks like their motor is always on. I'm sure we can all think of children we know who present that way, or maybe we were like that as kids. So that's one type. And then there's the combined presentation where children have both. They're inattentive, so they have difficulties with their attention and a hard time with their impulsivity and hyperactivity. And just before I go on to the next one, girls, when you look at the research, so males are most commonly diagnosed with ADHD, but there's also a good percentage of girls. They are usually, though, diagnosed later in life because they kind of slip under the radar because most of them get diagnosed with the inattentive presentation. So they're very quiet, they're very calm, they're sitting in class, looks like they're okay. They're like the ideal student, right? That they're able to sit still and they're not disruptive. But then this student could be really struggling to do her work and her mind is elsewhere, and people describe her as being a daydreamer, or she's a kind of in her own little world, and it gets missed that this could actually be ADHD, and that she's really struggling with her attention and how to then combine what she's just learned in the lesson, which she wasn't really aware of that it was happening, and for her to then do her work can be very challenging. So even for females, they're usually diagnosed later in life, like 30s even, where they discover that, oh yeah, that's why I was having such a hard time in school. So just as a little note, that girls can definitely be diagnosed with ADHD, but most of the time it's usually the inattentive type.